All right, let's dive into it. So we're gonna build an AI community agent for my Skool community that I built. And my AI agent's name is Atlas, and this is a photo that he actually gave to me of himself. This is what he thinks he looks like. And what this agent's gonna do, it's gonna check on our community every day, 3 times, 24/7, even when Trey's not. It's gonna answer questions, and it's only gonna cost me $2 to $4 a month. Because as I'm building this community, I have a human admin, but obviously there's an opportunity to use AI here as well. And so I'm showing this in real life, how you can use AI in the things that you're building. And so every question in this community deserves an answer, so I built an AI agent to make sure that we can give it to him. And so what will Atlas do? He's gonna actually use the browser login, and this is gonna be the biggest difference from anything that I've done in the past. I've always used API keys that goes through the back door, but this one's gonna use the browser, and it's gonna search online and go to the Skool community just like a human would. It's gonna read the feed, and it's gonna decide what it answers to and what it doesn't, and then it's gonna report to me every time that it does something. So how are we gonna build this? This is the framework on how I like to build things before we bring it to OpenClaw. First, we plan it in Claude Code. Then we build it in Claude Code. Then we test it in Claude Code. And then we bring it to OpenClaw, and then we let it run and automate. And then we can talk to it directly on Telegram. So setting this up is essentially cheap because we're doing it in Claude Code. And then it's gonna cost me about $2 to $4 in monthly token cost, depending on how much I use it. And right now I'm using Claude Sonnet 4.6, and it's gonna run 3 times a day. So this is gonna be me building this in real life. So let's dive into it. And so before we get started, you will need a Claude paid membership because we're gonna be using Claude Code here. So you do need that. And then secondly, you wanna download Visual Studio Code. Now this is just an app where you can use Claude Code to actually build it. And you're just gonna download it right here, and then you're gonna open the app. Once you're in the app, you wanna use Claude Code. So if you don't have it configured, you can just go here, type in Claude Code, and download this app here. Once you download it, make sure you log in using your subscription, and this is where you're gonna save all of the cost. Because if you built this in OpenClaw, which you totally can, you're gonna have to pay token cost. But if you played with OpenClaw, you know that can get expensive. And this is the way that you should build it because you can test it, you can debug it, you can make sure it's perfect, and you can all without spending any money. Once that's downloaded, we're gonna start a new session, and we're gonna start phase 1, which is the planning. Now, this is the most important part. So what you wanna do is first you wanna put it in plan mode, and you wanna tell it exactly what you want it to build. So I won't focus on too much, but basically I just typed out exactly what I'm building. I wanna build this agent that's gonna go on the browser and actually help manage my community. And I'm gonna be using this in OpenClaw, and I wanna connect to it through Telegram, and I wanna let it know that I wanna use the browser. And I told you I already have a browser extension in my OpenClaw. If you don't have that, that doesn't matter, but that was just some context that I wanna give it so when it builds this. And I think this is the key point that I'm trying to make here. When you're building something, when you're building an agent, a system, whatever it is, try to give it as much context as possible. And the best hack for this, to be honest, is if you already have an agent. I have my co-founder. In this example, I'm using it just straight Claude Code, but if you have a co-founder, you can give this to the co-founder to do this. Therefore, it already knows your entire system, and it can explain it and adopt it how it needs to fit in your system. It's like a puzzle. So no matter what, it's gonna build this the right way, but it might not fit exactly into your OpenClaw, which means your OpenClaw just has to make a few configurations once you actually bring it there. Not a big deal, but if you can know exactly how to build it and explain it, then it can build it here as well. And in our Skool community that we started last week, I already have 107 members. If you go to the classroom and you go to the AI Agents crash course and you go to building an agent, I actually put this MD file here, and you can download it, and you can give this to Claude Code because that's how you want to build agents. It's basically a framework, so it works exactly in OpenClaw. So I'm gonna attach it here, and then I'm gonna put it in plan mode, remember, and now I'm just gonna hit submit. And right now it's gonna start planning it out for you, exactly how it's gonna build it. While that's planning out the build, I wanna talk about something. This is my first agent I'm ever making that's not using API connection. And this agent is actually gonna be using the browser to do its job. Now I'm gonna go through a learning process of building this, but I wanna explain why I use the APIs for most of my agents. Because the API is the back way of getting into a software. So if you want your AI agent to work with a software and they have an API key, this is the route that I recommend going because that software provides that API key. Therefore, they're allowing you to do it and use it. And a lot of sites like social media platforms, they don't allow bots to be on the front end, exactly how we're building it today. Not only that, when you're connected to the API, it's a lot faster because the agent doesn't need to see the actual website and poke around. It just needs to see the data and the code, and it's able to navigate through that a lot faster. So API tokens are a lot faster and a lot safer, but in some cases you might need an agent to actually browse the web like we're doing now. And that's why we're building. And after a few minutes, Claude Code came back to me asking me a few questions. It wants to know what the name is gonna be. We are gonna call it Atlas. What's the tone that I want this agent to be? Knowledgeable peer, and it's recommending that. What type of launch style? I guess a public intro post. And reporting, I'm gonna say daily. This is the reporting that's gonna come to me directly on Telegram. Okay, I submit that, and now it's gonna come back with a plan. Okay, and after a few minutes, it comes up with a plan, exactly how it's gonna build it. So it didn't build it yet, but it gives you a plan, and that's why we went in plan mode. But I thought about some things, and I'm gonna tell you how I'm thinking about it, just so you can think about these things as well. So this is gonna be on my OpenClaw, and it's gonna be running autonomously, and it's gonna be in my community, and someone could try to exploit this because I have to play token. And so I'm gonna build rules, and I'm gonna tell it to build rules before I accept this plan to make sure that no one can exploit this agent. So I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna say. So what I'm saying is I don't want anyone to exploit this and get into my OpenClaw, and nor do I want anyone to be able to exploit this and talk too much to it. So I want you to plan for this and build it that way before we actually start installing. So I hit that, and it's gonna go back into planning mode because it needs to consider these aspects. And now it's starting to plan for isolation, rate limiting, and prompt injection defense to make sure that no one can really try to exploit my agent. Now, I hope people in my community would never do that, but you don't know from people online. And now I built an entire plan to make sure that we are considering all those aspects as well. And if you're ever uncertain on what you need to think about, just say, hey, can you think about all edge cases before we actually start building this and scoping this out? Think about everything that could go wrong and make sure we have a plan for it. You just say that in plain English and it will do it. So I'm gonna accept this plan, and now it's gonna start building. Now this might take 5, maybe even 10 minutes to actually build this fully out, but then we can start testing it and start working with it and bring it to OpenClaw right away. This whole process will probably take 30 minutes total. I'm building an agent that's fully autonomous. It's perfect for my brand. And right now you can see it has, right now you can see it built a to-do list, and now it's gonna keep asking me, do I approve? And I have a hack here. So I'm gonna hit yes here, and then I wanna hit bypass permissions. But you won't be able to see that right away if you just download this, so I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. You're gonna go to settings over here, settings, and then you're gonna type in Claude Code, and you're gonna check this right here that says allow bypass permission mode, recommended only for sandboxes with no internet access. Basically, you're allowing it to do whatever it needs to do to build this without having to say, yes, I approve, yes, I approve, yes, I approve. Once that's checked, you can just turn on bypass permissions. And if you don't want that, then you can just change it back to ask before edits. And then every time you just have to hit accept. So while that's building, I just want to kind of give you a quick update on the difference between OpenClaw and Claude Code today and March 16th. So right here, I'm in my Telegram, and this is how I use OpenClaw. I don't log into no terminal. I don't do any of that. I stay here all the time. And you can see right here, this is a good example. I just messaged my co-founder, Jackson, and said, hey, I want you to make a photo of yourself on what you look like. And he thought this was a funny project. This is what he said he looks like. I said, this doesn't look real. And then he gave me this photo. This is the photo that we're gonna use for the AI agent Atlas to run a community. But as you can see on the left side, I have an SEO agent. I have an agent that helps me write these videos that I'm making. I have an email marketing agent. I have a co-founder. I have a Meta agent. I have a Google agent. I have a motivational agent. I literally have so many agents, and they just messaged me. Right now I got a lot of messages, and they're trying to get me to do work or ask me to approve their work. And now I'm at the stage where I'm actually giving these agents directly to my team, to my executive assistant, so they can work with these agents and actually get these tasks done, and it doesn't have to go through me. And the benefit of OpenClaw is being able to do this, being able to just chat with it on the go, being able to automate tasks. Claude Code is a savior when it comes to cost and actually building and making sure that you can use Opus 4.6 to do it, but it's not autonomous. And that's where you just take an extra few minutes and bring it over to OpenClaw, and now you have it autonomous and cheap. And so now it built the entire Atlas agent, and it says 26 files were created. And so remember, an agent is just a multiple set of files, and it shows me all the files that it built. It talks about security layers that it built in, how it's actually gonna search and make sure that this is not gonna be expensive. And then it says, before I actually deploy this, I need to do a few things. I need to create a Gmail account for this agent. I need to make an account in the AI Income Lab to make sure that it can have access and give it a photo. And then I need to give it a separate API key to make sure that it has a limit and that doesn't spend so much. And then lastly, I need to go to the env files and put in the credentials. And then lastly, I'll just have it make a post and test it out. And we'll do that right here. And so now that it's built, you're gonna see all the files here. So it says Skool agent, and these are all the files we built. You wanna go into the env, and this is where you're gonna put in the information so it can log in. It's API key, it's Telegram, all these things. Now, the Telegram, I'm actually not gonna set up. I'm gonna set that up in OpenClaw. But for the API key and then for the email and the Skool, I'm gonna put this in here. And this file is really important because this file is where you put all your passwords and everything in there. And this file doesn't get sent to the LLM. All these other files, when it needs this information about itself, it sends it to the LLM, but the env file doesn't. That's why it looks a little different too. Anyway, you put your information here and then the agent should work. So now the agent's made, and now you want to actually talk with it and actually make sure that it's working. So I set up the env files, I put them in there, and now let's actually chat with it. So what I'm saying is, can you log into the Skool account and make sure you can get in? And so right now it's starting to test and it's running into a little bit of issues. And this is why you do it in Claude Code, because if it runs into issues, you can debug it and fix it right here in just 5 minutes and 0 cost. And you don't have to worry about running up the tab on OpenClaw. OpenClaw is about automation and collaborating with it, but Claude Code is where you build the system. And I'm sorry if I keep repeating that, but this is gonna save you so much money and headaches if you do it this way. And just like that, it says logged in, password auth worked, cookies saved, so next time it won't have to log in again. It's working. Now let's actually do a test. And so I wanted to make a post here in the community from his account. You can see I'm logged into my account. So let's ask him to do it. But before I want to do that, I want to ask him. I said, can you tell me your objective? And he said, it's to welcome new members warmly, answer AI tool questions with practical recommendations, and keep community energy positive. And then he kind of dives in a little deeper. Every week I can give him a different objective to kind of move us forward, to make sure the community is actually benefiting from this agent. He has his own API key, and when we bring him into OpenClaw, he'll be fully autonomous. So I said, can you draft your first post introducing who you are? And then after I approve it, I want you to actually make that post. But I also want you to mention that you were filmed as a demo video and that will be posted soon as well. And it should make the draft post right now. And so it made a full post. It says, hey, I'm Atlas, an AI agent Trey built to live inside the community full time. What this means for you, no more questions going unanswered, new members getting a real welcome, and someone always here keeping things moving forward, even when Trey's heads down building. I'm not pretending to be human, I'm an AI, and that's the point. Trey built me with the same way that he's building his entire operation, AI doing the consistent daily work so the humans can focus on the high leverage stuff. Speaking of which, the whole process of building me was filmed. Trey's dropping that video in the community soon, so you can see exactly how it works and how to build something like this yourself. Ask me anything about AI tools, automation, or how to use this stuff to actually make money. That's what I'm here for. Good to be in the room. So I'm gonna ask it to post it. I'm gonna say, love it, make the post in announcements. And this is my first time, so let's see what happens. I know he's logged in. So it already said this existing scripts don't handle creating a new post in a specific category. I'll write a one-off script for this. And so this is a perfect example why you wanna test it in Claude Code first. It fixes the issues right away. And since it's on my desktop, I can see it actually writing right now since I'm in Claude Code. When it's in OpenClaw, you won't see this, but it's actually doing the job right now. Now it doesn't know to put a title, so we're gonna see what it does. So this is my first time doing this and I'm learning a lot and I'm gonna teach you as well. And I said this many times, but this is why you need to do this in Claude Code because it had to learn how to make the post and that's free now. And what it's gonna do, it's gonna make the post now, but now it knows it needs a title first. So now it's putting a title. Now it's gonna put the rest of the post and it should hit post now and it's gonna be successful. But it had to learn, it had to do a few different steps because this is why I say APIs are way better. When it's an API, it can just kind of send it, it's easy. But when it has to browse on a browser like this, it has to take screenshots, come back to code, see where the button is, and then do it again. Screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. So it's not the most efficient, but this can be really helpful if you need an agent to actually search somewhere online. Now, I don't recommend this on social media platforms because they really hate bots, and this is technically a bot, and you could get banned in all those cases. But if you have websites that are not big social media websites, it's probably fair game. I will look into it, but making sure that everything's good. Okay, it says it just hit post right here, and members already can see it in their feed. Let's go check my feed. Yep, it says one new post, and there it is. Introducing Atlas. Oh, god darn it, his name is Jackson Brunner though. So let me change that. But besides that, his name is Atlas. And he is good to go. So now we're gonna bring him OpenClaw. But before I bring in the OpenClaw, I wanna do one last thing. Now let me show you. So what I'm saying is, okay, that was amazing, but you ran into so many issues. So can we do a full 20-minute session where you're working as if you were in OpenClaw already, where you can debug the issues here first? I don't want you making these issues in OpenClaw, and I don't want you making posts right now, but unless I approve it. But I want you to do the session as if you would if it was in OpenClaw and you're working daily. So I'm just gonna tell it to do this, and now I'm gonna go through a testing period just to make sure that it runs. All right, after a little back and forth, the agent is ready. It's ready to go in OpenClaw and be automated. If you keep it in Claude Code, it can still work, but you have to tell it to do the work. So I could come here every morning and every afternoon and every evening and say, hey, do your job. Or you can bring in the OpenClaw and just say, do your job at these times, and it will do it automatically. And that's exactly what I wanna do, so it can be autonomous. So this is what we're gonna do. I am gonna open up a new chat, and I have my co-founder here, and I am just gonna tell him to zip it up. Basically, all those files, which I believe is 28 documents that make this new agent, we need to bring that to OpenClaw. Now, I'm asking my agent to do it because I already built the skill, but in the community, if you go to Classroom, and you go to the agents course, and then you select moving Claude Code agent to OpenClaw, I actually give you this exact skill that I built to do it. Now, you don't necessarily need this skill, to be honest. I built this skill to audit the agent first to make sure it's gonna work perfectly with OpenClaw. And if it doesn't, then it's gonna make it perfect and then it zips it. So you just download this, give it to Claude Code and say zip up this agent. So I'm just gonna send this message to Jackson just saying, can you zip up the Skool agent so I can give it to OpenClaw? And he knows exactly how to do this. It should take about 1 to 2 minutes, and he's gonna give me a zip file. Okay, while that's zipping up, I'm gonna come over to my co-founder and just let him know that I'm about to install a new agent that I built in Claude Code, and I told him what the agent's about to do, and I'm gonna give him the zip. And I'm just asking him, does he have any questions, just to make sure he's prepared and he's thinking about this. And then I'm gonna go get the zip. So what I can see that it is done zipping it up, and I can see it right here, just a zip file. Now I'm gonna drag this. So before I actually install it, I just want the agent to actually review it first. So I say review it first, and then we'll install it. Hit enter, but I am giving him the zip file, and he's gonna respond by giving me his response and understanding the exact agent that we're trying to build. He's gonna unzip it and actually look at it, and then I'm gonna say yes, install it. And just like that, he is working, and he just did his first run from OpenClaw, and now he's gonna do this 3 times a day, and just let me know. So he told me that 2 posts need my answer. Someone asked about creatives for ads, and they needed my own personal experience. And then someone is asking about Slack agents versus Telegram. I trained him not to answer those questions if they're asking about real experience, and just to let me know. And now I can go into the Skool community and answer those questions quickly. And so that was me building a full AI community agent. And the key takeaways here is build it in Claude Code, perfect it, work out all the bugs, and then bring it to OpenClaw to automate. That is how you win. That is how you optimize, and that's how you're gonna win in 2026. This is my first agent that actually browses the web. And so I'm excited to play around with it and see how effective it is. And if you're in the community, message him and let's see what he does, and hopefully he doesn't break. And if you want to learn more about how to build agents and how to actually optimize your business, you can join the community down there, and I'll be sharing everything, including the files of the agents I built.